There's a certain kind of coach who believes what we believe, who leads people to greatness, who gets people unstuck, who unlocks all of your passion. A coach who helps people discover what drives them, to tap into their superpowers. That knowing your why is the first step to untap potential, to focus, to breakthroughs. A coach who's looking for a better way. Are you that coach?
Hello and welcome to Why Not Wednesday. Welcome everyone, all of you who are watching on Facebook, on LinkedIn Live, or on YouTube. We're glad that you're here, and I'm excited to introduce you guys to today's guest. Our guest today is Chad Malone, who is an author, a communicator, a podcast host, a corporate trainer, a management consultant, and a business consulting and empowerment speaker. So he's a well-respected international communicator, and he's the author of the book, Finding Your Passion from the Inside Out. Chad's passion is to add value to emerging leaders and teams to create success in leadership, effective communication, and team building. How'd I do on that introduction, Chad?
Thank you very much, Dan. It's great to be here on Why Not Wednesday. Thank you very much for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. And, you know, we were just talking, you were on the phone with one of our why coaches, Melanie Ake, recently, because you guys are both in Indiana. So you guys have done some work together.
We have. She's great.
It is a small world. I love that. one of the things we'll do, Chad, throughout the show, as people say hi to us, I like to recognize them. So Mr. Raymond Kemp is Fleet Master Chief, U.S. Navy retired, is saying hello from Dallas, Texas. And one of our newest coaches, Bruce Captain Kirk, has beamed in just for us today. And Watson Jordan, hello, Chad, from Asheville, North Carolina. So I like to keep it interactive, and sometimes people will post questions, or so they'll post comments, and we want to make sure we acknowledge them, Chad. So, man, how is the book going? You've got a brand new book out there that launched on August 30th or 31st. Finding Your Passion from the Inside Out. How's that been going?
It has been keeping me very, very busy. It's been keeping me on a path. And I tell you what, it's been pretty amazing. I know within 2 weeks, I received an email, and in that email, it basically said, hey, I'm over here in Kenya, Africa. Can you get me a copy over here? Because we really want transformation, and we really want to share the passion that you have for people and personal development over here. So I'm like so excited about what it's already doing, and just getting those stories almost daily of the impact that it's making it's phenomenal. It's awesome.
So Chad, what does it mean to find your passion from the inside out, in your words?
To find your passion, I truly do believe that it means that you have to figure those things out, internally. Right. And then you can manifest them on the outside, because it's an inside job. Right. And some of the things I talk about in the book, and, I'm an open book, so I'll share them here. I'll just give a couple of them of, what do you value? I have a lot of people that say, hey, I have a goal to be a communicator or a speaker or a teacher. And I ask them, okay, so what do you value? Right. And then they kind of stop. And I'm just a firm believer, to get unstuck, your values and your goals have to match. Right. And then in that second strategy, I talk about where you're vulnerable. And a lot of people in today are starting to uncover some of those things that make them, unvulnerable. And so we just want to make sure that, with this book and this resource, that people really, truly understand some of those key strategies, making, those inside things happen, so they can, again, come to the outside.
I love that. So, Chad, I almost let you off the hook, because one of the first things we do on Why Not Wednesday, because we are Why Institute, is we talk about your Why operating system, which you discovered some months back when we first connected. And your Why, and I posted about this today because it is so apparent just by reading your profile that you're a contributor. So your WHY.os is contribute, make sense, and trust. So what we know about people with your why of contribute is you like to make a difference in the lives of others. You live to positively impact other people, and you love contributing to the success of causes that are bigger than yourself. That's your why. And how you do that, how you contribute, is by making sense of things that are complex and challenging. You're a good problem solver. You solve problems in order to contribute to the success of others. And your what is trust. That means that what people can count on from you is, if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. You value being a trusted source, being someone people can depend on. How does that resonate with you?
It totally hits me, right in the heart, because it's exactly who I am. And I think anybody that really knows who Chad is, on the inside,
right,
and what they see on the outside, they know that I want to be part of something way bigger than myself. You hit the nail on the head there. And then I'm always trying to take those complicated things and make them more, simple.
Right.
It's a going joke with me. I'm not the smartest person in the room most of the time.
Yes.
So I got to make those things simple enough for somebody like me to understand them.
Right.
But then trust, I think, is the ultimate thing when it comes to leadership.
Yeah.
And even just influence, and even just in friendships,
yes.
You have to have that trust. And I want somebody to be able to trust me. Actually, before we talked today and having this conversation, I just called up one of my friends, and we were just talking about that concept of trust. And, when things get busy and all of that, you just want to make sure that you still honor those commitments. And the greatest way is to make sure that you do the things that add value to that. And that's trusting you and also everybody else in that process.
I love that you bring that up, because it's so important to know that about people. So one of the things that we always talk about and our coaches talk about is, when you know somebody's why operating system, you want to make sure you communicate with them from there, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm talking to Chad and I know he's a contributor, I want to make sure, if whatever I do, I want to make sure I let him know, hey, whatever we're doing together, we're going to contribute to the success of others. I want to contribute to your success today by exposing you to Why Nation, but also to exposing them to you, right? So they understand who you are, and they can talk about your book and the impact you're having across the world. But I also know that that's important to you, that you contribute to them, right? Yep. And so we're going to talk about that. And how you do that is by making sense of the complex and challenging. You like to solve problems. And, you remind me of something Jerry Lujan says. He's one of our partners at Y Institute. He always says, look, I'm not real smart, but I make up for it by being slow. And you said it, you're not the smartest person in the room, but so you simplify things. But you have to understand, as a make sense person, you have a gift for making sense of things that other people find difficult. And when you understand that and when you live into it, then you really can start making an impact. And that's what you do. And that's how you contribute to the success of others. You are blowing up in the comments, Chad. So I'm going to acknowledge a few people. And I actually got a couple of invitations here. So, of course, Melanie's here and she wants to say hi. She says, hey, Chad. Lynn Everett from South Florida is saying hello. JT from Cincy. Liz Wendling, thanks so much. She's in Denver. She's on almost all the time, so we're so glad to see her. And Lynn is issuing you an invitation, Chad. So I want to make sure you connect with Lynn. He's one of our Y coaches, and he's based out of Florida, but he's got a show called The Editor's Desk, and I know he would love to have you. So Watson gave a comment on when you started talking about that work from the inside out, inside first, exactly. Yep. And Jerry Fletcher from the Northwest Coast says hello. And this is a friend of yours, Athena Reed, saying hi, Chad.
Hello, Athena.
Hello, Athena. Hey, before we got on, before we went on the air, you talked about you were doing something with somebody internationally. Tell us about what you were doing right before we got on the show.
So actually, a couple of hours ago, I had an opportunity to do a master class with an individual that I actually met here in the United States. And he actually now lives in the United Kingdom, but where he was born and raised was over in India. And so he invited leadership discussions today. And so we've had a great morning doing that. It's interesting that it's morning here, but it's nighttime over there. So
right.
Just trying to make an impact on all levels that we can. So it's been a great day so far.
Fabulous. Yeah, no, I was traveling today, so I had to get in here and get myself settled before we got started. You know, there's a quote that I love that I posted about this on Monday. It says transformation is not about doing something different, but it's about becoming something new. So that's your quote. So what does that mean? A lot of people talk about transformation. What does it mean if we're working with Chad Malone? What does it mean that it's not about doing something different, it's about becoming something new?
Well, that's interesting that you are asking me that question. And here's the reason why, because it is about becoming something new.
Yeah.
I'm actually working with an organization right now, and we're doing transformation, and a lot of other organizations are, kind of in this transformation mindset. But what's interesting for me, back in 2007, I was in my second to last class, human resources class, to earn my bachelor's degree.
Mm-hmm.
And my instructor said that, hey, Chad, we want to do this presentation and everybody's got to do it. And you have to do it exactly for 15 minutes.
Okay.
And in that presentation, we have to talk about where did we come from? Where are we at? Where do we want to go?
Mm-hmm.
And so I got up and I gave my presentation. And as soon as I was finished, she says, okay, break time. And I thought, oh no, I bombed this, right?
Right.
And she comes and she sits right down next to me and she says, Chad, I know that you want to start a training company. Again, take back, this is 2007.
Right.
In 2022. But she sat down next to me and she goes, let's not talk about training. Let's talk about transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And now in 2022, it's one of those buzzwords, if you will.
Yeah.
One of those power words that I like to say. And so it's just one of those things where transformation is really, truly about becoming something new. Everybody always wants to do something different. They want the newest iPhone or the newest piece of technology or whatever the case may be. But whenever you talk about becoming something new, there's work involved.
Yes.
And that gets people scared. They don't want to do the work to become something new. And I believe that we're all called to be something new. We're not just called to do something different. The world and everybody else can do different. But when you want to be something new, it's a whole different level.
Well, I remember when we first met, Chad, you quoted Romans 12:2. Talks about do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Mm-hmm. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. That obviously that had an impact on this transformation and being something new, right?
Yes. And there's also another quote too, Dan, that I'm not going to get it all exact, but it's by Winston Churchill. Yeah. And it talks about, a person's finest hour. And again, how do you rise up to that finest hour? You have to continually transform into that person that you are to become for that finest hour. And I think that's just very critical and very key in trying to get that transformation that you're looking for.
So one of the things we talk about, Chad, and I'm just going to give you a what if. We talk about the fact that, the why discovery is not about changing who you are. It's about being the best you can be, right? So the best Chad is someone who is contributing to the success of others, who is making sense of their problems and contributing that way and building trusting relationships. But if you don't know that about yourself, if you don't know that that's your why operating system, you can't live into your best self. But when you do, and then you choose to transform into the best version of yourself. So I don't think, because a lot of people talk about changing. And we say sometimes you don't need to change. You just need to be the best version of who you are. So how do we bring those together, Chad?
So again, and I think you said it very well. You've got you here and you're trying to be a better version of yourself, right, and then trying to create that newness, and they just kind of like come together.
Yeah.
Into the one, right? And so I think that's key is, just focusing on being the best version of yourself. Again, some of those things can be just little incremental changes. And, I've been able to hear a lot of those little changes come from people that have, got a copy of my book and said, hey, talking about value. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that I valued this, or, I'll pick on Athena since she's on here.
Yes.
Told me, chapter 1, she got stuck, because of it made her think. It stopped her in her tracks. because, I talk a lot about strategies in the book. I don't necessarily talk about chapters.
Right.
Because strategies create those things that you're just talking about, bringing that best version of yourself and that newness together.
I love that. Let me give a shout out to Bruce Kirk. He says we are called to be something new and better. So Chad, I know you're not one of our why coaches, but can you guess what his why is? Better. So his why is to find a better way and share it with others, and Bruce is already, in his short time with Why Institute, he's already come up with lots of ideas and shared them with us that are gonna help us. And he, his company talks about giving people a slight edge, not a, just that edge that you need to be a little bit better. I was, especially, I know you're also a John Maxwell coach. And so there's faith involved in the work that you do. And I was reading a quote, and I can't remember what it was, but when we talk about people that are in redemption mode, right, that they've done something that they've disappointed their family, they've spent time in jail, or they've done something wrong, and they're feeling that guilt that they've got to come back from. The quote was, God loves you just the way you are, but he also loves you so much he doesn't want you to stay that way.
Exactly.
Right. So that's transformation too. That calls for that transformation from the previous version of yourself to the newer, more improved, better version that Bruce is talking about. How much of that is involved in your book? And I can't wait to get your book, Chad. I can't wait till you send me that book. We're going to give everybody an opportunity to, as a matter of fact, why don't we do that? Let's share with how, if you're interested in getting in touch with Chad, just take this QR code. This is being recorded. So if you don't get it right now, but if you hold your phone up to the screen and take a picture of that QR code, this is a pretty ingenious QR code, Chad. It's got your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your email. It's got your web page. It's got a link to your book on Amazon. Really cool. So if you're interested in getting in touch with Chad or finding his book, going to his web page for his business, this is where you go. So we'll leave that on for a little while, but tell me a little bit more about have you dealt with those kind of situations in the work that you do?
So I've actually had the privilege. I had a contract with the state of Indiana system of corrections.
Okay.
And those are some of probably the highlights of my speaking and coaching and training career of those individuals, because I had a guy specifically, I'll never forget it as long as I live. He was in the midst of probably about 30 other guys, and he says, "And what do you think you know?" And I'm just like, "Let me ask you a question." So I went back to him and I gave him a question.
Yeah.
I said, "Do you want to be more, do more, and have more?" And he says, "Yeah, that's why I'm here." I said, "Well, I've got some tools and some resources and some principles that I think if you take and apply in your life, you can make those things happen."
Right.
And it just kind of stopped him in his tracks. And what's interesting too, some of those same individuals then will respond years later and say, "Hey, take a look. This is my newborn baby," or "This is my son," or "This is my grandson," or and it's just really awesome because they're going after that new life.
Right.
And that, that transformation that takes place. And, that one specific individual, has a barbershop, and making some things happen. And it's just pretty awesome to hear some of those stories of the transformation when people take those principles and apply them. It's just, it's an amazing thing. But again, it starts on the inside.
So Chad, you had this contract with the state of Indiana to help those people. I know one of the challenges that we have as people with the why of contribute, because I share that with you, is the fact that we can't help but want to help everyone, right? And it's hard for us to say no, but that leads to us sometimes being spread thin and not getting to everything. It sounds like you found a way to make the biggest impact with your gifts. How do you, this is a good lesson for all other contributes out there. How do you say no? Because it's hard when your why is contribute, you pretty much say yes to everything. So what's your strategy for saying no to those things where you can't make a big difference?
I think sometimes, Dan, and to, the ones that are kind of with me in the contribute boat, but I think a lot of it, you just got to learn to leverage.
Yeah.
That's kind of been my word over these last few months because, with the book and just, you know, speaking and on the road and all of
Yeah.
this stuff going on, life, my
Right.
family, my daughters and my wife and, things like that. I've just had to learn to sit down and leverage those moments
Hmm.
because I really do believe that the greatest thing that we have, the
Yeah.
greatest resource that we have is our time.
Yes.
And there is ways to maximize that. And we've literally just got to sit down and create that plan
Hmm.
that's going to give us those best results. And again, I mean, I'm very passionate, and I think that goes along with my contribute.
Right.
But it's just one of those things I've had to learn to just sit down and try to prioritize what is going to give me the best result.
Yeah. Stephen Pressfield in The War of Art talks about resistance, right? He talks about resistance is that thing that keeps us from doing the work that we're best at, living our
Mm-hmm.
gifts, right? It's what keeps you, when you're ready to sit down and write the book. It's what keeps you from going to check the laundry, mow the lawn, do the other stuff, right? That gets in the way of you sitting down and writing the book. So as a contributor, somebody that's always saying yes to everything, how did you make the time to write the book?
Well, it's interesting. I was actually asked the same question in another interview,
Yeah.
and this is what I have come up with. I'm actually what I call a jotter. So the
Okay.
ongoing joke now is I'm just kind of like Sir Jot a lot. And
Sir
so
Donald, I like it.
and so sometimes I just literally do. I mean, I've got about 5 ideas right now on
Yeah.
other books that I want to write.
Right.
And I know they always keep coming to me all
Right.
of the time because a part of my contribute is
Right.
to create, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so it's just one of those things where I'm always jotting down notes or ideas and things like that. And like specifically with like finding your passion from the inside out.
Right.
I had a lot of this stuff just kind of in its jotting place.
Right.
And then I just finally had to make the time to just sit down and pull it together. And I was very fortunate, I had a publisher that was able to assist me with that and pull those things together as well and say, okay, this needs to go here, this needs to go here.
Right.
Okay, this is good. And now we have a finished book, right? But it's just one of those things I know again, and I think the more that we know who we are,
Right.
and that was probably a big reason why I wrote this book, is to help people to know more of
Right.
themselves. And knowing that I'm a jotter and I got things everywhere, then I know that I've got to make that time to sit down and bring things together.
Yeah. Love that. And I think we all struggle with that. I know I do. I know where my zone of genius is and I know what I
Mhm.
need to do, but I know there's always all those things that are pulling on us. I want to recognize Bruce Captain Kirk says, loving your philosophies, ideas, and concepts. And Jerry Fletcher says, Sir Jot a lot. What? Wow. I think he's from the Northwest. I think that's where Sir Mix-a-Lot is from. So Sir Jot a lot. We know. Lynn Everett says, welcome to my 3x5 card kingdom. And Watson, getting things out of your mind and into the world is so important. So, Chad, congratulations on finally getting that done. What drove you to write the book? Why did you write the book? What was the purpose?
The purpose, well, here's the thing, and this has been since I've been very, very young. I'm talking as far back as I can remember. And I don't want to get too emotional when I say this, but I don't want it just to be kind of cliche-ish,
Yeah.
if you will, but I love people.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely have a passion for people, no matter if they're the CEO of a company or they are the ones doing the janitorial work in the bathroom at a Fortune 500 company.
Right.
I just love people.
Yeah.
And I just know that people have a purpose. I know that people, are made for more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what keeps me even motivated is to try to help people. Again, the subtitle of the book is 7 strategies to get from where you're at to where you want to be, that kind of thing.
Right.
And so I really want to help people take their life from where they're at to that next level. And, it could be just a small little, tweak on the radar, if you will.
Yeah.
And you just tweak it just a little bit, and you've got a whole brand new thing that you're working with.
You mentioned something earlier where people sometimes send you pictures or send you emails or texts or letters and say, hey, look, you impacted me this way. That's so important to someone with the why of contribute, right? To see the impact that you've made, and you've been blessed to see some of that. And I see where you're talking about the purpose of the book and loving people. And sometimes people don't love us back, right? And so we have
I think Dan froze. Are you there, Dan? Hello, Dan. I'm not sure what we need to do from here. Hello?
Hey, we had a little bit of a hiccup there. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear
All
me?
right. Well, we're back on. So for those of you that stayed on, we're glad you're still here. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, I couldn't see you. I had to. I just said, well, let me just restart it. So Watson Jordan said, keep going about the book. What is an example of a strategy? So
what's an example of a strategy
versus a chapter? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if you are wanting something to happen, you've got to have a strategy, right?
Right.
Any other book that you read, it's got a chapter 1, chapter 2, and so on and so forth. But I think when you have a strategy, you're wanting to get something out of that. Mm-hmm. And that's why we have a strategy, right?
Right.
So again, some of those strategies again that I talk about in the book are like strategy 1 is like, what are your values? Mm-hmm. What do you value?
Right.
2, I talk about, where are you vulnerable?
Mm-hmm.
And then I also talk, some in the book about, about that journey that we're on, because so many people think that, we got to get to the next spot, or we got to get to the next place, or, what's the destination and all of that. And I think there's so much that we miss.
Right.
When we don't sit back and say, okay, this journey that I'm on,
right.
What's the purpose of it? Again, why?
Why? Love that, Chad. Thank you so much. So I'm going to ask you I can't believe I've waited this long to ask, and I was going to be mad at myself if we hadn't gotten to it. Tell us about the title of the show is Why Not Wednesday, and I like to ask the question. Tell us about your biggest why not moment, a time when you said why not to an opportunity, a circumstance, a choice, and it made a significant positive impact for you.
Well, here's the interesting thing is I'm probably going to tell on myself. I know some about technology.
Right.
I know how technology works to a degree, but technology and me, I guess, are becoming more friends, if that makes sense.
Well, we just had a technology moment now, right?
And so the thing is, if that was me, I'd kind of be like how I was seeing your picture. You're just kind of like froze. And so it's just one of those things, like a big why not moment for me just happened about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Actually, the night before the release of the book, I did my very first ever Facebook Live. Never done it before.
I remember we talked about this. Yes.
And it's just kind of like, why not try something? Again, the whole idea is to become something new, do something new, right? This was new for me. And so I was very fortunate enough. I have a friend of mine, Bobby Lonergan, that eventually, for the ones that'll be asking, is there going to be another book? There will be. And he's actually co-authoring that with me right now. And he's lives in Dallas, Texas. But it's just one of those things. He helped me do this Facebook Live. And just, again, the feedback and the questions that people were, sending me and asking. And it was just an amazing thing. And now it's just like, whenever I get the opportunity to do something, I'm like, why not?
I love that, man. Why don't we end on that note? That is a great story. It's a great why not moment. Chad, it has been a pleasure to have you on. We look forward to hearing more about your success with the book, what you're doing across the world. And let's have you back when that next book comes out. As a matter of fact, let's have you back before then, because this has been a great conversation. Thank you for putting up with the technology. It's what happens when we travel. I'm usually hardwired in for the show. And I know if Joe Ake is listening, and I know he's going to listen to the recording, I didn't have my microphone clipped on for about the first half of the show. So I hope the sound is good quality for him. But thank you so much, Chad. I look forward to staying in touch, and have a great rest of your week. Everybody, we'll see you guys next Wednesday on Why Not Wednesday.
Thank you all. Again, my passion is your transformation. Have a great day.